Better late than never, I present for your listening pleasure the final episode of Inbred, the Sandwich Podcast. My co-host Jeff passed away tragically young, and I simply will not continue without him. I sat on this episode for a couple months because I didn't have the heart to finish editing it. Well, I finally did, so here it is, the last recording of Jeff Gunter. Enjoy!
This is Inbred, episode 8. I'm Barry.
I'm Jeff.
And we're here to talk about sandwiches. And the sandwich adjacent.
Are we really 8 episodes in now?
We are totally 8 episodes in.
That's
and
crazy.
Sandwiches are still good.
Of course. The sandwiches are always going to be good.
Yes.
Unless it's a bad sandwich. But then you want to just eat another sandwich to get that memory
the
out
bad
of
sandwich out of your
memory out of the
I'm trying to remember what a bad sandwich I had was. And you know
I
what?
blocked those out.
Yeah, that's blank. There's a blank in my head. I don't think about those bad sandwiches. They don't deserve a place in my head. So today, let's talk about Jewish food because it's fucking delicious.
Yep.
Oh my God, so good.
One of my favorite sandwiches, and I have a lot of favorites, but this is probably at least top 5, if not top 3. Is the Reuben.
Oh yeah. Now
I love a good Reuben.
I've had a bad Reuben before.
It's easy to screw up.
You're gonna say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you had a bad Reuben there." But the 80s Cafe.
It's different. It's their take on the Reuben. It's not an authentic Reuben. Okay. So I understand where you're coming from, because if you're ordering a Reuben thinking it's Reuben, the 80s Cafe, it's called the Paul Reuben sandwich.
Yeah, like Pee Wee Herman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they do pickled red onions on theirs. They don't do sauerkraut. They do something else.
Well, that's here.
On the rye, the marbled rye.
I just wasn't a fan.
So it was their twist on the Reuben. A lot of their sandwiches are their twist on a classic sandwich, because they're trying to be unique, and
I get it.
I respect the effort,
but it didn't hit right.
I got you.
Yeah, it's not a place
if you're
known
expecting
for
a
that.
Reuben, you're expecting a Reuben.
I want a true Jewish deli experience when I eat my Reuben.
A classic Reuben is going to be your marbled rye, your sauerkraut, Thousand Island or Russian dressing.
Now, okay.
And then
I thought it was Russian specifically.
It depends on who makes it.
You know more about this than I do. So,
and then usually Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And corned beef.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely corned beef is generally the way to go, though.
Sure.
There are places that will allow you to swap out the corned beef for pastrami or do half and half.
I love pastrami. However, I will go on record as saying I prefer, if given a choice, a corned beef Reuben over a pastrami Reuben.
Some people
100%
don't
of the
know
time.
the difference between pastrami and corned beef. All right?
Well, it's funny that you ask.
I know. 2 different countries of origin.
Exactly.
Romanian, where its predecessor pastrama was made with pork or mutton, or Turkish, where it be a descendant of pastrima, made with beef. Corned beef is from Ireland, which is why it's eaten on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. Yeah. It's probably my Irish heritage that has me preferring, because I love a good corned beef and cabbage. If you find a nice Irish restaurant that makes a good corned beef and cabbage.
They boil the fucking cabbage, dude.
Well, but you boil everything together. I mean, that's how corned beef is made. It's typically boiled, but not like a rolling boil. It's like a slow simmer for a lot of hours, which is the main difference between pastrami, which tends to be smoked and then steamed, so that it locks in that moisture.
Yeah, and they both brine them.
Yes, they're both brined.
Salted and spiced.
Yes.
And, very, very spiced.
The reason you want to brine those cuts is because you want to lock in the water. You want to lock in the water in that meat, because otherwise you're going to get a very dry product.
And I remember eating some dry shit when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up with Scottish relatives, and they'd have corned beef and cabbage, and it was dry, and I hated it. That's why I didn't like it. But the best, because let's face it, it's brisket. Right?
Yes.
And if you know anything about Texas barbecue, that's all brisket, and I know how bad a dry brisket can be. You need to keep it nice and moist. Now, they brine it, at least what I'm reading, is in a mixture of salt and sugar, black pepper, cloves, coriander, bay leaves, juniper berries, and dill with,
That sounds right.
Yeah. it varies a little bit.
Sure.
But pastrami, which is made from the beef brisket, I think that's from what's called the flat, which is not as fatty. And then there's another part of the brisket called the point, and that's where corned beef is, and that's where you get your money muscle. Yep. It's a little more fatty. But it's two sides of the same brisket, quite literally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now I prefer, if you say brisket to me, the first thing I think of is Texas barbecue.
Sure.
But there's something to be said for a good pastrami or a good corned beef.
Absolutely.
I remember one of my first really, really amazing experiences with pastrami was that place down the street from where you used to live.
Oh, yeah.
Sammy's, that little shithole shack.
Sammy's pastrami, yep.
Oh, pile high pastrami with cheese and a sandwich, and then we go home and we'd be ill.
Mustard, yep. Absolutely.
It was disgusting, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but it was a good sandwich.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sandwiches, if speaking of pastrami, there's a place in the Los Angeles area. They tend to be all over the Los Angeles area, called The Hat. Now, The Hat is known for their pastrami dip sandwich. What they do is they take the sandwich roll, they pile it with pastrami.
Whoa. Roll?
Sandwich roll.
Oh,
long,
so they make a roll.
long roll.
So do a long roll like a bolio roll, not like a rye. Okay.
Yeah, because sandwich roll is going to be long, whereas like a regular roll is going to be pretty tiny. But
okay.
So sandwich bread, like a sub-sandwich bread, sandwich roll. And they pile it on with the pastrami. And before they put the pastrami on, they dip it in beef au jus. So it's a little wet before it goes on the sandwich. Little mustard. You can add pickles if you like. I typically do. And
like the thin slice.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Dill.
And that's basically it. Now, I always order mine with an extra side of au jus because just like a French dip, I like to dip my pastrami dip in that au jus to get a little bit more of that flavor. And it's like a really good sandwich. Oh, yeah, because it's a hefty sandwich.
That sounds like a lot of salt.
It's a struggle to finish a full sandwich because it's a big sandwich with the amount of pastrami they pile on.
Ooh. That's just a lot, man. I don't know if I can handle all that.
Well, I mean, you eat half the sandwich, you take the rest with you.
Now, corned beef, on the other hand, I remember my first experiences with corned beef when I was a kid. Corned beef hash and eggs.
Okay, yeah.
That was like breakfast. And by corned beef hash, I mean the shit that came out of like the little Dinty Moore can.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst corned beef.
That's the worst corned beef. But it was so salty. And I have that and eggs. And you mix them together and you're like, oh, it's a thing. But my mom used to make that and she wasn't the best cook.
If you have canned corned beef and corned beef hash, rather, not good. But if you go to a place that makes their own corned beef and they have a corned beef hash and eggs, do yourself a favor and try it.
Yeah,
because it's really good. Canned, not so much.
Sounds like a Cracker Barrel type of thing.
Right?
You know, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, you have a lot of Irish restaurants that serve that for breakfast.
How many Irish restaurants do you go to for breakfast?
Besides McMullen's, that's the only one that I'm...
Yeah, I know.
Now, McMullen's here in town, my best Irish pub.
Family was Scottish, and you get the same food. You get the same, you get that corned beef hash. It's the same thing. Yeah. Now, getting back to just corned beef versus pastrami, when I lived in Houston, there was now this is a weird thing. When I lived in Houston, there was a chain of restaurants called Katz's Deli, and you think, oh, Katz is from New York. No.
Not connected.
Not connected. Katz is apparently a common name. There's 4 locations in Houston, and there's a couple of Katz's locations in New York. Unrelated. They serve the same shit. Unrelated. However, it's damn good. I'll eat there anytime. And being in Houston, it's not a 24-hour town. There's few places that are open 24 hours. When we get off a plane and it's late and we're hungry, you're like, fuck it, we're going to Katz's because I know they're open.
Nice.
And that's good. And they have their Reuben.
Okay.
Now you can get 3 styles. You can get the slim, you get the regular, you can get the New York style, which is so piled high. You cannot put your mouth around it.
Oh, it's
a knife
awful.
and fucking fork job, and it's going to last you for like 3 days.
It's awful in the best way.
Oh, God, yeah,
because you're like looking at it, you're like, there's no way I can eat this, but I want to.
It's too damn much food.
Oh, yeah.
Deb gets hers with extra Russian dressing, and it's important that we take a little segue here and talk about Russian dressing.
Okay.
Russian dressing is an American salad dressing.
American.
Ugh. Consisting of mayo, ketchup, and other ingredients. It's very similar to Thousand Island.
Right.
Why is it called Russian? I don't know.
Our research did not come up with a reasonable reasonable reason why it's called Russian dressing.
And we're not. We actually do a little research before we come to the show here.
We try to be prepared.
Yeah, it was mentioned as early as 1900. Is an alternative to vinaigrette for tomato and asparagus. There's a 1913 cookbook that has like a vinaigrette with paprika and mustard. Why it came to be called Russian, maybe the original recipe included a bit of caviar, which apparently was cheaper
Perhaps.
back then.
Oh, yeah. It used to
Now
be super cheap.
Fucking crazy.
It's like lobster used to be. They couldn't give it away.
They served it to prisoners.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to commit crimes.
And then as soon as they started serving it in upper scale restaurants, suddenly it became a, quote, premium item, and only the rich could afford it for a long time.
Like the pineapple.
Yep.
Like the pineapple. When is that gonna turn around and lobster and caviar is gonna be cheap? Because I love caviar.
I don't know. You have to ask the creators of Psych.
I love. Huh?
There's always a pineapple somewhere in an episode of Psych. It was a thing.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't.
I love that show. By the way, if you haven't ever watched Psych, do yourself a favor and watch it.
Spot the pineapple.
Yep.
Why do they do that?
Who knows?
Fun.
Just for fun.
Someone a swinger? Was it upside down?
I don't know.
That's a whole other thing. Anyway, Russian dressing. It's just an American thing, but it's popular for Reuben sandwiches, and oh man, is it good. I think the sauerkraut.
I tend to prefer the Thousand Island a little bit more because you got the ground up dill pickle in there.
Oh yeah,
so it adds a little bit more flavor.
See, I don't want
on a Reuben.
I don't want that on my Reuben. I like my pickles on the side. I love those little Jewish deli pickles.
Oh, those are
side.
Amazing.
And there's a place in Houston. I'm sure they do this elsewhere, called Lenny and Ziggy's.
Okay.
And they have the regular pickles. Mm-hmm. They also have the half sours. You know what a half sour is? Where they only brine it enough to make it about half a pickle.
Oh, okay.
And it's still between cucumber and pickle at that point. And it's got a good snap, and it's tart like a pickle, but not quite so. It's a half sour.
I like that. I want to try one of those now.
Good. I love a good Jewish deli pickle though.
Yeah, there's just something about the seasonings they use in that. A good Jewish deli is going to make their own pickles.
Well, yeah.
They don't buy the barreled pickles, even though there's a lot of good companies that make pickles nowadays. There's just something about getting it at a deli that makes their own pickles.
For a minute I grew my own cucumbers, and it was easy to pickle stuff if you get them the right size.
Exactly.
You get the little ones and just pickle them and just wait. The problem is waiting, and I have no patience.
Well, and then there's the other thing that you can do if you want to pickle something. Let's say you buy a jar of pickles at the store.
Yeah.
Instead of throwing out that vinegar brine, save it, because you can pickle just about anything in that. I have pickled onions in that brine from leftover from when we finished off the pickle spears. I have brined carrots.
Yeah, it doesn't go bad.
You can, like I said, you can pickle just about any vegetable. And
you just want to get the right brine. I wouldn't go with like the general classic brine. I would find a brine you really like.
Yes, exactly.
I cannot talk enough good stuff about this. Get yourself a Costco membership right now and go buy the Grillo's dill pickles. Those things are amazing, and the brine is good, and you can see the big spears of dill in there.
Yep.
And it's light. It's not that yellow. I think they add yellow, like a coloring to that on like the Vlasics or the whatever the hells,
But pickled onions on a sandwich are pretty much always good. Whether you go with the white onions or the red onions.
Go with the red.
It's fairly, red onions I feel like have a little bit more flavor when you pickle them than the white onions.
Yeah, go with the red.
But it's easy enough because I remember during the pandemic, I was having to get food from food pantries, and some of the vegetables they would give me were just too much. I mean, like I would have leftover. I would have leftover onions, and I'm always like scrambling to figure out what I'm going to cook with this to get before they go bad.
Yeah.
And that's when I started going, oh, yeah, I can pickle some of this stuff, and that'll keep it for a lot longer.
I said it before, man, COVID did you good.
Yeah.
I'm over here playing Minecraft in COVID, and you're just learning to pickle things and making crazy tortilla stuff.
I was cooking all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Damn. Corned beef, you don't like your Reubens with pastrami. You prefer
I prefer it with corned beef, yes.
Yeah.
If given a choice, yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree, though you can get a little half and half.
Sure.
At Katz's, they used to make this sandwich called the New Yorker, which was just salami and cream cheese.
Okay.
Which was my favorite thing to add on an egg bagel. Bagel, salami, and cream cheese. And when I was a kid, I walked into a bagel store once. I'm like, I don't know what I want. He's like, here's what you want, kid. And he introduced me to that like a crack dealer. And I've been chasing that dragon ever since. Let's talk about bagels.
I do like a good bagel.
The quintessential Jewish food is the bagel. Bagel with lox and cream cheese. I used to not like lox. And speaking of which, I'd be remiss if I didn't.
I love lox. I've always liked smoked salmon.
If I did not mention this to anyone listening, you may not like pastrami. You may not like sauerkraut. You may not like lox. Give it a few years.
Yeah.
Every few years, like 5 or so, your palate changes.
Yes.
I'm talking well into your 40s and 50s and 60s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are things I hated as a kid that I absolutely love now.
Like what?
Well, onions is a perfect example.
Me too.
I could not eat onions when I was a kid. Love them now.
Yeah. Spinach.
I kind of always liked spinach, but I like it more now.
Yep.
I did not like arugula as a kid. I love arugula now.
I didn't like avocado well into my 30s. Into my 30s, man.
Into my 20s, late 20s, I would say I was not a big fan of avocado, but now I love avocado, especially if you're doing, like, say, if you go to a good restaurant where they make tableside guac. Oh, my God, I love a good tableside guac.
Yeah. Late 30s. Seriously, I did not like avocado, and then I just kind of...
I still don't like avocado on my sushi, though. I don't know why. It doesn't...
It's like...
I think it's a thing in my brain where it's like, avocado doesn't go with sushi. Because that's not native to Japan, Yeah. I don't know. It's
whatever.
Just, I think it's just one of those weird little faults in my brain where I just can't.
So you just get sashimi and call it a day.
Well, I mean, I've had, like, when they have a specialty roll that has avocado, I'll try it and then see if I like it. And if I like it, I'll keep ordering. If I don't, I move on to something else. But
yeah, we're going to talk about sushi in another episode because technically it's a sandwich for other reasons. Fight me.
Yep.
Bagel Cat. There's not too many great places in Las Vegas for bagels, and I hate that so much. I like a bagel just smothered in shmear.
Yeah.
I don't like when they cheap out on the shmear. However, there is something to note about bagels. In New York, you should not toast your bagel.
Yeah, you were mentioning this earlier.
They will hate you for this. I don't understand why. It's a big deal. Like they consider it an abomination to toast your bagel.
I wonder why.
Because they're saying, oh, it should be good as it is. You know what? I like my bagel toasted. I don't care. I like it warm. I like the bagel. I like that little toasty texture thing. Mm-hmm. And then you put the shmear on it and it warms it up a little bit and you eat it and you're good.
I mean, if you're eating a plain bagel, I can understand, you want that fresh, that softness of the bagel.
Yeah.
But when I'm putting schmear on it, I'm like you. I like it toasted because it adds a little bit of something to it. Beyond just the texture. I feel like it caramelizes just enough of that sugar in there without being overpowering. And it adds a perfect surface for the schmear to go on there so that it doesn't penetrate too deep into the bagel so that it gets soggy.
We sear meat, get that Maillard reaction.
Yep.
Same thing with a bagel. We get that we toast it. Same reason
Absolutely.
I toast a hamburger bun before I put a hamburger on it. It holds together a little better.
Butter toasted buns, I've always maintained, are the best way to have your bun prepared for a burger.
I've never been huge on the butter, especially now. But
I've
never been huge on butter toasting it. You just toast it a little bit. And all the other stuff will caramelize on it. Like you put the burger down, and the fat's still going to drip out of it.
Sure.
And that's what gets in there. I don't need to add butter to it. My heart doesn't need that.
I've worked with so many, it's in the restaurants I've worked over the years. I've worked with so many chefs that they'll spread a little thin stream of butter on a layer of butter on that flat top. They'll put the burger buns down on it while they're cooking the burger on the flame broiler, and then boom, it just goes right on, and it keeps that greasy burger from just really soaking up into the bun, so you get this nasty mess that's falling apart in your hand.
Yes, it keeps it solidifies the bun, but if you like mayo, a little smear of mayo on your burger, I'll toast the bun without the butter, and I'll put a little smear of mayo on it.
You can also
and
toast it with mayo. Have you ever tried that? Toasting with mayo?
I haven't.
It's actually very interesting and very flavorful.
I may have to try that.
Especially since you can't really do butter.
That's true. And the restaurant thing. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that a lot of restaurants will over butter everything because butter is like chef's ketchup.
Yes.
And it'll just make everything a lot better. And that goes to an experience I had at Disney.
Oh, yeah?
We scrimped and saved, and we finally got a reservation at Victoria and Albert's, the most expensive, most luxurious restaurant you're ever going to eat in all of Disney worldwide.
Okay.
It's expensive as fuck. It's one of those restaurants where you get up to go to the bathroom, and then there were servers coming to your table to deliver something. They'll turn around, go right back to the kitchen so you're sitting.
Should we qualify that by saying the most expensive restaurant that the average consumer can go to? Because you got 23 Royal and you've got Club 33, which are way more expensive, but
Club 33
very exclusive.
Is super. You can't get into that. And honestly, I think Victoria and Albert's is more expensive than Club 33. I don't know what the Royal
23 Royal is like.
What is that?
I think it's $5,000 a person.
What the fuck? Where is that?
It's at Disneyland. It's literally right next door to Club 33 in New Orleans Square.
That's a special experience. That's in Walt's apartment and shit.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
But it's a chef catered meal.
But you're paying
and it's different every time. Yeah.
You're only paying for the exclusivity of being up there.
Sure.
Victoria and Albert's, holy shitballs. That's amazing. Now, here's the problem. They talked me into this fish dish, right?
Oh.
Which had so much butter. It was like I was like eating half a stick of butter. And this was before I really knew what was wrong with me.
There's probably a whole stick of butter in there if I had to guess.
Am I kidding? And it was like the rich butter.
Oh, yeah, the clarified.
I was up at the bathroom like 4 or 5 times. It was not a good time, dude. It was bad. I have to go back because it ruined it for me, and I was so excited about this. Butter. I can't do it like that anymore. I forgot where I was talking about, but I should have mentioned that. But they over butter stuff.
Okay.
In restaurants. You know this. Well, what's it see? Why is it so good? Because of fucking butter.
Yeah.
Butter's tasty. I have Country Crock plant butter, not margarine, plant butter. That's what I put on my toast, but I take it easy on it. If you can do a meal without a lot of butter and make it tasty and good, like a sandwich, then great. But there's no substitute for cream cheese in a bagel.
Before I forget, plant butter, gross.
It tastes almost the same.
Gross.
Your mom. Bagels and cream cheese, they go together like bagels and cream cheese.
You can't do cream cheese anymore, though, right?
I really can't, but I'll take like 10 lactades and I'll eat my cream cheese if I'm in a place that's known for it.
Because, man, if they got a good cream cheese on a bagel,
I like the blueberry cream cheese.
Yes, the blueberry cream cheese.
Or just
really
a blueberry bagel with just plain cream cheese.
A blueberry bagel with plain cream cheese is also fantastic.
Yep. Now, if I'm having lox, I can have an onion bagel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lox, one of those things where I'm like, ew, I don't want that. That's gross. But then my palate changed in my early 30s. I'm like, I love this now.
I don't know. I got hooked on it at a young age. My parents really liked smoked salmon, especially my mom. And then, we smoked salmon a couple of times. But
like at home, you smoked salmon? How do you do that?
We had this little tiny smoker thing that you could basically just put a little slab of salmon in, and I think it was electric based, but it had a little heating element in the bottom. You put your wood chips in the bottom. You douse them with a little bit of water so they don't smoke up too fast.
Yeah.
Because it literally, that heating element would make it catch fire, and you would have a mess on your hands.
That sounds awesome.
But yeah.
But then you get the fish smell in your house.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's the problem.
That's why you would keep it outside. You'd basically run the extension cord outside and plug it in. But yeah, I don't know. I'd always like smoked salmon. Pretty much any kind of smoked fish, but
I like when they make it into little roses.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's nice.
Isn't that crazy?
That on a Disney cruise.
That's
like little roses of smoked salmon.
That's some talent right there.
On a bagel, though, it seems to go perfectly with a dill creamed cheese. On like
dill cream cheese
bagel,
is good.
You know,
yeah,
with the poppy seeds. I'm not trying to get high with the poppy seeds. It just is what it is. I'm fucking gonna do.
I had a garlic cream cheese that was pretty good once. It was like their special cream cheese.
That seems a little much.
Because
I don't know.
One of the better bagel pits here in town is Seigel's Bagelmania, and then the other one is a place on the northwest side of town called the Bagel Cafe, and they both make their bagels in-house.
Never heard of the Bagel Cafe, but Seigel's Bagelmania I've heard. The reason I haven't gone down there is if you live in Vegas, you kind of avoid the Strip. But this place is worth going to because they got all kind of stuff. You know, they got your Reubens and your
I've been
beef
there.
Sandwiches and turkey pastramis. What looks really good to me is this sandwich with a Yiddish bird. It's turkey, crispy bacon, chive schmear, tomato, and sprouts, and you pick what bagel you got. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, they make their own corned beef. I really liked the Reuben at Bagelmania. They again make their bagels here in town. I don't consider it on the Strip. It's Strip adjacent because it's actually about a quarter mile. Yeah,
you don't walk there.
It's like halfway between the Las Vegas Strip and Paradise Road, which is where the main convention center is. So it's right next to the West Hall of the convention center. So that's why when there's a convention in town, you don't want to go there because everybody is going there because it's very close. They are only open for breakfast and lunch, though, so I believe they close at like 2 or 2:30.
Well, how are they going to compete for other Vegas restaurants for dinner? It ain't going to happen. And bagels,
I don't think they have a problem with competing because the 2 times I've been there, they've been packed. Once I got there for a to-go order, I literally ordered online and picked up and then got out, and it was solid packed. And then the one time I actually ate there, I ended up eating at the bar because there were no tables available. They said, I have one seat open at the bar. I said, I'll take it because otherwise it was like a 45-minute wait.
Oh!
Yeah, exactly. It was packed.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, exactly. It's a lot. So, I really enjoyed their Reuben. Their corned beef is really good. Their sauerkraut, I like a good, like beer braised sauerkraut. It gives a little extra flavor. Their sauerkraut was really good, but I had a Reuben one time where they braised their sauerkraut in authentic German beer for like hours. And I've been chasing that dragon for a long time because I've not had a sauerkraut that good since. I've had a lot of good sauerkraut, don't get me wrong, because we ate at that German cafe.
Yeah.
In Fredericksburg, that was fantastic. They had a really good sauerkraut. But again, I've been chasing this one because it just had such a unique flavor.
Yeah.
And it was on the Reuben. And anyway, I'm getting way off topic here.
Okay, they're talking about sauerkraut. That's fine. For people who don't know, bagels, you're going to hear a lot about where bagels come from the 1683 Battle of Vienna, but no, bullshit. You can trace bagels back to like the 13th century Poland. Well, Jewish bakers in the part of Eastern Europe that's now Poland anyway. The Jewish tradespeople's activities were carefully defined by anti-Semitic local laws designed to segregate them from Christians. But the Jewish bakers are given leeway because they were allowed to bake bread for themselves and their Christian neighbors because they boiled this lean ring-shaped bread known as, I don't even know how to say this, obwarzenek. During Lent, Christians abstained from rich food, so they sought out this bread, and they made a smaller everyday version for Jewish consumption, the single serving of ring bread known as a Bagel in Polish and Bagel in Yiddish. So it's bagel. They basically made bagels.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew up from there. And they came to the U.S. when all the European Jews emigrated in the 19th century. Bagels came along for the ride there. And it just blew up. And funny thing, the Bagel Bakers in New York in 1907 formed the International Bagel Bakers Union, BEIGEL, Bagel Bakers Union, to dissuade people from patronizing bakeries that forced people for immigrant workers to toil long hours for low pay in terrible bakeries. So they carefully guarded the knowledge of bagels. I imagine like a bunch of them robed with candles saying, "You will learn the secret of the bagels." But then, bagel baking machines came about.
Sure.
And forget about it. Now everyone's got bagels.
Yeah, there's still a few delis in New York that make their bagels the old traditional handmade way. It's funny. I have a friend that lives in New York, and he said, I asked him one time, I was like, well, what's the best restaurant that makes bagels? He said, dude, there's so many restaurants that make fantastic bagels, but as far as like the best bagel, everybody has their own opinion on this because there's so many of these places that have been doing it for like 100 years or more. So, you've got all these great bagel makers that are, using the handed down techniques from, the early days of New York.
So you go to a bagel joint, because I had a bagel for breakfast the other day. I went to Einstein's because it's around
Einstein's
here.
is okay.
It's around
for
here.
For a chain, it's okay.
It's within a 5-minute drive. That's what I wanted. I'm not driving across town for a fucking bagel
Sure.
for breakfast. I want food now. What do you get?
When I get a bagel, what do I get?
When you get a bagel, breakfast for bagel, what do you get?
I'm
I'll tell you.
a big fan of the blueberry.
Yeah.
I like the everything bagel because it's got that little bit of garlic in it. It's got the,
the poppy seeds and
yes,
all the business.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like a good onion bagel too. I'd say those are probably my top 3.
Onion to me is really pungent. I can't deal. I like.
Well, I'm talking like those the caramelized onions, like the French fried onions.
It's still very
too much for you?
Savory and not sweet.
Well, that's why you put the cream cheese on there because that adds that sweetness to it.
Yeah, depending on what kind of cream cheese you do.
I usually get the plain on. If I do the onion bagel, I do the plain cream cheese.
My very favorite bagel, which Einstein doesn't have because they're heathen, is an egg bagel. Egg, to me, that's it for breakfast. That is all with salami and cream cheese. Now, obviously, I can't do the cheese anymore, so now I try and find an egg bagel. If I can, I'll do a plain. Plain bagel's still good. But I'll do like egg and like breakfast meats and like avocado and tomato, bacon, whatever.
I will say one of the more unusual bagels that I had, and an unusual just because it wasn't what you would first think of as a bagel, but it was very tasty, was a sesame seed bagel. They had sesame seeds, toasted sesame seeds all over this bagel. It actually had a really good flavor because you got that little toastiness, that almost nuttiness that you get from the toasted sesame seeds. I really enjoyed it.
Montreal-style bagels are slightly different than the New York bagels we all know. It
Oh, really?
Malt and sugar, no salt. It's boiled in honey-sweetened water before baking in a wood-fired oven. It's that sesame white seeds variety. It's interesting. It's different. There's similar breads to bagels if you think about how it's made because they boil the dough, like you boil pretzel dough.
Yes.
Which is why you think of bagels when you think of pretzels. Just picture a soft pretzel from like Wetzel's Pretzels, right? And then picture a bagel. Very similar, just darker with salt on it. It's made in very similar ways.
Yeah. Once it's boiled, it's baked.
Yeah. I love me a good pretzel bun. Oh my God, it's so good.
Pretzel buns are amazing.
Oh, they make everything good. They have their place, though.
Of course.
Yeah. Sometimes you need a brioche bun.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I love a good brioche bun.
Now, Jewish food is so good. Challah bread.
Oh, yeah.
First off, it looks amazing. The braid on the bread. And then you cut that and you make French toast out of that.
Ooh, yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, speaking of delis, I mean, what's your go-to deli here in Vegas?
You know me. I lean Italian, dude.
Well,
you know, I'm gonna go to Mercato Italiano down south and down
Okay.
there, or before that existed, I would say Siena Deli up north. That's Italian. I didn't have a good Jewish deli around here.
I will say I'm only aware of 3.
Okay.
You know, in a city of the size of Vegas, you would think there would be more, but there are 3 really good Jewish delis here in Vegas. And when I say that, I mean authentic Jewish delis. And the top 3, Weiss Deli here in Henderson.
I've heard about that.
They do their Reuben like you were talking about, where it's just piled high, and they put the top piece of bread on the side, so you put it on yourself if you want to actually eat it like a sandwich. But I will tell you from experience, you're going to want to take like half that corned beef off to put that top if you want to eat it like a sandwich.
You take half that corned beef off and you make corned beef hash at home.
There you go.
You put it
but I
in
mean, piled high and then the sauerkraut piled high on top of that. It's a mess, but so delicious. Although the last time I ate there, because they do make their corned beef in-house, it was a little too salty last time I went there.
Really?
So I'm not sure if it was just
expect salt on corned beef or pastrami. Just expect it.
Yeah. But this one was just like just a tad bit too salty.
That pastrami sandwich I'm thinking of before, the first one of the ones I used to eat, that would just hurt my heart.
Right.
Too much.
Now we already talked about Seigel's Bagelmania.
Yeah.
They are a very authentic Jewish deli, even though it's more of a restaurant now. Mm-hmm. But they still have the full-on deli where you can go in and buy your deli meats, you can buy your bagels, you can buy all of that stuff that you would do at a traditional deli. The other one I really like is in Summerlin, which is on the northwest side of Las Vegas. It's called the Bagel Cafe.
Never ate there.
They've got the glass case spread out with all the selections. You can walk by, and then you place your order. You place your order on a little piece of paper, or if you're lucky enough to get somebody that comes out and they take your order on the little notepad. They say you want like X number of bagels, you want X number of meats and cheeses, etc. Their Reuben is also really good. Cool. I took it home with me, and I was like on the way home going, because I live on the east side of town. The whole time I'm sitting there like, this is going to be really soggy by the time I can get home. But it was not, because they did toast the marbled rye perfectly. And, good stuff. So those would be the 3 most authentic, at least according to the list I looked at, and as far as ones I've actually been to, most authentic Jewish-style delis in Las Vegas.
Why is the Reuben not served on a bagel?
I don't know, but there's just something about that marbled rye. I mean, regular rye bread on a Reuben is fine, but I just love that dark marbled rye. There's just something about that flavor that just really sells it for me.
The Seigel's Bagelmania, I'm looking at the menu. Mm-hmm. They have this thing called the Gelt.
Okay.
All right. And they tell you, don't change anything on this sandwich. It's money.
In fact, I think they won't customize that one.
Warm corned beef, deli mustard, house-made slaw on a pretzel rye bagel. Get the fuck out. That sounds amazing.
Their coleslaw is actually pretty good there.
I don't like
I'm not a big coleslaw fan.
Yeah, it's the mayo, it's the creamy. I'm
definitely not a creamy. Now, like
you and me are the same on that. We like the vinegar slaw.
The vinegar slaw.
That's where it is.
The more southern style vinegar slaw. Yeah. Absolutely.
You had the slaw when we went to Salt Lick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Okay. Fuck you, it was good.
No, I was expecting more vinegar, and there was clearly some oil in there too. So it was
might have been an off day. Sometimes
when you get oil, if you want to do a really good vinegar slaw, you want to do just the vinegar. You don't want to put the oil in there, even though a lot of recipes. Apple cider vinegar is typically the one you want to go with, because that is going to give you the more authentic southern style vinegar slaw.
Yeah. If you don't have apple cider vinegar, first off, your grocery store sucks.
Yeah.
But you can use like a rice vinegar.
I have done it with white vinegar before. It's not as good. In a
salad, I'll use a white rice vinegar.
Sure.
Something light. I don't want to overpower it. Now, I do have a recipe for cucumber slaw. cucumber salad, really, that uses
Right.
apple cider vinegar, but it also uses some white vinegar or rice vinegar.
Yeah, a lot of
It's
times,
so powerful, man.
a lot of times they'll have you cut your apple cider vinegar with a little white vinegar.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the recipes I got from the guy that I worked for, I should say, that was a World Barbecue Grand Champion. He did that too. He would cut the apple cider vinegar with just a little bit of white vinegar so that it wasn't too overwhelming. Especially because, like, we would make the slaw. We would try to make it so that it had enough time to marinate fully. So you try to make it the day before, but occasionally you would run out. So you're scrambling to try to get that slaw made up right away. But the problem is, if you're using a lot of it, it's only getting basically a coating of that vinegar as opposed to the vegetables absorbing the vinegar.
And it makes a difference.
So it's not marinated, it's basically dipped at that point.
I don't know what to call that Japanese cucumber salad. That's a marinade, but I don't know if they vinegar that or what. The one you get when you go to the sushi place.
Sure, yeah.
It's so good.
That one in Chinese restaurants have a very similar.
Oh, and before we go, we would be remiss if we did not mention Jewish food, matzo ball soup.
Oh,
which
yeah.
technically a soup by the cube rule of food identification is a 0 because there's no starch. However, the matzo balls are starch. And
Yeah,
there may
that's
be
what
a
I'm
few
saying.
of them. So it classifies under number 8, which is like a tesseract. So technically, matzo ball soup is nachos.
Best matzo ball soup I ever had. One of the chefs I worked for, his background was originally in Jewish cooking because his family was Jewish, and he was a little more open to other meats. He wasn't kosher, but he made some matzo ball soup one time. It was supposed to be a special on the menu. He hadn't made it in a while. Oh my God, dude! He's passing around to the employees. Saying, hey, try this out, see what you think. I'm thinking of doing this as a special for like 1 week and just kind of seeing how it goes. I'm not kidding you, dude. This thing was so freaking good. I mean, I still have dreams about this soup, and this is almost 20 years ago. So you're talking.
Yeah, but you got to sell.
It
that
left
to
an
your-
impression.
You got to sell that to your customers, though, because most people look at
Yeah.
matzo ball soup like, "Why am I going to order that?" No, dude,
It's like-
it's a thing.
What's this baseball in my soup? Like, that's the matzo ball. That dumpling. Yeah.
Fun thing about an 8 in the cube rule, it's not just matzo ball soups and nachos. It's also poutine, Lucky Charms, and salad with croutons are all technically 8s.
Poutine, really?
Yeah, because it's fries, but there's a bunch of
Right.
them, and then there's other stuff on them. So it's like, well, where does it exist? It's a tesseract. Also, bonus round, fried noodles, couscous, and ramen, which is technically wet nachos. So.
Ramen is wet nachos.
What is your favorite bagel and bagel concoction? Please write to us. I want to know. Comments at inbreadpodcast.com. If you like what you hear, support the show. Visit our Ko-fi. That's like Patreon, but even better because it's cheaper. ko-fi.com/inbread, where you can win a sandwich. Speaking of which,
Oh, we should give away a sandwich.
we're going to give away a sandwich. Jeff, right behind you, there's a dice on that second shelf on my bar.
You mean there's some dice, but you want me to grab a die,
I want
correct?
you to do a die. There's a die right there by the pineapple with the skull. I paint such a lovely picture of my bar. And I want you to roll that die.
I'm going to roll the die.
He's going to roll the die. And everyone who's a meatball hero gets a chance to win.
All right, all our listeners, you got to make your own drum roll for this one. All right, here we go.
Drum roll. Aaron-esque, you
What?
just won a sandwich or maybe a bagel. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck, just give me a
Whatever you
call.
feel like.
We'll
Eat a
figure
Reuben.
it out. Yeah. You won something. Hoo-rah! So we would like to thank our meatball heroes, Atomic Gumby, Aja Shockey, and Aaron-esque, and our Turkey Club members, Jeff Roth, Leon Mitt, and our newest member, Geek Savvy. Thank you very much for supporting the show.
Yes, thank you.
We cannot do this without you. I mean, we could, but we'd be talking to each other, which is what we used to do, which is why we're like, hey, we ought to make a podcast. That's our little sandwich show. I'm Barry.
I'm Jeff.
Stay hungry, everybody, because now I am full I have just eaten dinner, and I kind of want a bagel right now. I kind of want a chance having cream cheese, even though I know it's a bad idea.
It's a very bad idea.
It's such a bad idea. Bagels for dinner. I can't even consider it.
No?
No. I think of bagels. I think of like maybe lunch.
And see, I'll eat a bagel any time of day because to me it's almost like a snack unless you're making it like into a sandwich or something.
See, for dinner, supper, dinner, whatever you call it, I usually consider that a more savory meal. But bagels, I don't always consider that savory. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, honestly, it's just like I'll get in the mood for it. I'll be like, I want that blueberry bagel with some cream cheese on it. And it's a snack. Or, maybe I want to get that everything bagel with some lox on it, just a little cream cheese. And maybe that's, say, a mid-afternoon, not quite full-on meal, but enough to tide me over to dinner.
I'm talking about dinner, man. See, you could do a Reuben on a bagel, but it hits different as rye bread.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not opposed to doing a Reuben on a bagel, but for me, that marbled rye is always going to be my go-to,
especially late at night when there's nothing else open. You go to Katz.
That's a surprisingly decent Reuben that you would never consider.
What's that?
Arby's.
What?
Yes, I know. I was surprised myself.
Really?
I mean, if I have my choice, if it's a fast kind of food kind of thing, I'm going to go to Jason's Deli because their Mr. Reuben is amazing.
They're nationwide.
But if I'm in a hurry and I'm feeling like a Reuben, Arby's has a pretty decent one. Surprisingly.
Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, because that's not who you would think of as having a good Reuben. But
I would not think of Arby's having a good
anything.
Right? But apparently the marketing is true. They have them.
They do.